Arguing for the end of adult marijuana prohibition is easy because we have facts, science, reason, compassion, evidence, truth, and logic on our side. It is even easier when researchers catalog it all for us. Learn how to gather the facts on marijuana use, arrests, seizures, rehabs, drug tests, and more in this edition of Drug War Data Mining.
Welcome back, everybody. 22 after the hour, and the drug war data mine I've been going to lately has been provided by the Oregon District Attorney, specifically District Attorney Josh Markey, the leading opponent to Measure 91, and the Oregon District Attorney's listserv. If you'd like to pour through some of those records with us, you can. They are available publicly at radicalruss.com/docs. All you need is the Adobe Acrobat free reader, and you should be able to read any one of the over 1,200 emails, I think it's about 1,200 that we've uncovered, maybe 1,000. But anyway, lots of emails in there, all sorts of details. You can pick out the highlights that I've given through the @RadicalRuss Twitter feed, all sorts of interesting things they had to say. One of the things we discovered was the statistics for how many people are convicted of felonies over the past fiscal year, July 2013 to June 2014, after we lowered our sentencing guidelines through a bill that I came up with. 571 people got felonies in Oregon.
It's a big myth that people are locked up in our prisons whose only crime is smoking for crimes that only involve smoking marijuana. The idea that, we have law enforcement here, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but we are going around and finding people with, outlines of joints in their pocket and throwing them in state prison. Makes no sense. And I'll tell you, that's a very easy case for me to make in a state like Oregon, where you have the most lax marijuana law after Colorado and Washington in the country. But let's say you're driving 35 and a 60, you're driving your kind of erratically, you're swerving, your tail light's busted, and by the way, you haven't registered your car in 2 years, you have 6 kids in a car, they're supposed to have 4, and you get pulled over, right? Okay, that makes sense. And, the law enforcement officer peeks his head in, you can't even see your face because of the marijuana smoke going in the car. Well, yeah, then you're probably going to get written up and arrested for that. But we know after looking at all the data that driving under the influence of marijuana intoxication essentially doubles your risk of a car crash. Now, alcohol at least quadruples it. And when you put it together, see what it works. It's about, I don't know what the number is on top of my head, but when you put alcohol and marijuana together, which is, they're usually used together, not as substitutes, especially among heavy users, when you do it together, it's even greater than that. But the point is, marijuana impairs driving. Finding folks who have never done anything in their life other than using a joint once or twice that are being locked up for that. Now, we talk about larger amounts and dealing and things like that, then yeah, it's going to be a different scenario. But I also think that we should look into laws that don't criminalize people for possessing marijuana. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Colorado and Washington. Because I think it is important. We have 2 states that are trying something. 80%, according to the statistics, 80% of you drink responsibly and don't have a problem with it. And that's probably the same for a drug like marijuana. It's difficult to know, but probably. That means that 20% of you don't drink responsibly and drink to such an extent that it's damaging yourself and people around you and jeopardizing public safety. Again, baby boomers, the idea of a, marijuana lollipops or marijuana chocolate hazelnut spread. There were, when I went to Berkeley, yes, there were people making marijuana brownies for 40 years. That's not new. But we're talking about these kinds of innovative products that are essentially knockoffs from common products that are happening, and also products that specifically target kids. The sodas and candy bars and chocolate ice creams. A lot of people think, well, if I'm going to try marijuana, I'm a naive user. Are you going to want to try a smelly old joint or a scary thing that's on the end of a needle that looks like heroin, or some huge contraption that you're supposed to put your mouth on and vaporize? Or would you be more likely, like me, to want to try the thing that is laced with a lot of sugar and chocolate? That sounds a little more attractive to me than some of those other things.
'Cause I'm a liar. Yeah, I'm a liar. I'll tear your mind out. I'll burn your soul. I'll turn you into me. I'll turn you into
420 Radio is 24-hour marijuana.
Despite strong public support for medical cannabis, decriminalization, and legalization in Georgia, the state spends $121 million every year to arrest, prosecute, and imprison Georgians for simple possession. Each year, the state of Georgia spends less on driver services, agriculture, and forestry combined. What else can $121 million a year do in Georgia?